Hi everyone, my name is Klucinec, and on behalf of my many collaborators, I will be presenting our work titled Design and Evaluation of Privacy-Preserving Protocols for Agent-Facilitated Mobile Money Services in Kenya. First, let me explain what mobile money, also referred to as MoMo, actually is. So this is a financial system built by telecommunication companies, such as Safaricom, where financial accounts are tied to a user's SIM card or phone number. In addition, this system involves a network of third parties called agents, who are often local shop owners or store clerks, as shown in this image. These agents are able to accept deposits from or disperse withdrawals to mobile money users, almost acting like another form of an ATM. Our work focuses specifically on mobile money procedures in Kenya, as there were over 77 million mobile money accounts registered in that country as of 2023. This is actually extremely notable because that exceeds the Kenyan population from the same year, which was approximately 51 million people. These services offer multiple different types of transactions, including deposits, withdrawals, peer-to-peer transactions, and person-to-merchant transactions. However, we are specifically focusing on agent-facing transactions due to their inclusion as a third party in these financial transactions, which allows for additional privacy and security risks that we'll cover in a few slides. First, let's walk through an example withdrawal transaction with our user and agent. Please note that this protocol is accurate as of 2024 when the study was conducted. First, the user presents their physical ID card to the agent they want to withdraw money from. Next, the user enters the transaction details, such as the amount of money they would like to withdraw, on their phone and confirm using a PIN. The user then receives a confirmation text message, and so does the agent, which, as you can see and we'll cover a little bit later, includes a lot of additional information. Following this, the agent records the details of the transaction in a physical book from the message that they receive and from the user's ID card. Finally, after all of the information is recorded, the user receives their money from the agent. Now, as you might imagine, there are some privacy concerns involved with this process. For one, users express discomfort with sharing their ID information due to its connection with other details, as IDs are required to register for many services in Kenya. For example, as a preview of some of our results, one user explained that, quote, "If someone has my ID number, they can track my retirement fund, healthcare fund, and my ID number links me to my bank and my family details." Looking at the messages received by the user and the agent, transaction details and information about the user are shared, as I've mentioned briefly earlier. Specifically, agents are shown the user's name and phone number, which many users feel are too personal to be shared. For example, one participant said that, quote, "The agent might try calling me and stalking me, and so I wouldn't want them to have a name and phone number to avoid that." And this was mentioned especially by many of our female participants. We'll provide more context for these quotes in a few slides. To correct these privacy concerns, we designed a privacy-preserving mobile money protocol. We'll walk through this new process with our same user and agent from before. Instead of initiating a transaction by showing their ID, users instead initiate a transaction by providing their biometric information. Smartphone users can do this using their fingerprint or face, while basic phone users can do this using their voice as a form of authentication, which is actually already implemented in several other financial applications. This information is sent to and verified by the mobile money provider, as opposed to the existing process where agents view user IDs for authentication. Then users again enter the transaction information on their phone and still receive a confirmation message, and so does the agent. However, notice this time that the personal information, such as name and phone number, is replaced by a short code. This replaces the need for agents to look at a user's ID for authentication. If the codes match, the user will receive their money and the transaction will be complete. Another problem with the current protocol is that when users need to withdraw cash and are not able to visit an agent, they tend to use an insecure workaround, such as giving their phone, PIN, and ID to a proxy, such as a friend or family member, to take to the agent and complete the transaction on their behalf. To account for this and help to formalize the process, we designed a secure proxy protocol that allows users to request that their funds be withdrawn and sent to someone else instead of having to pick it up themselves. Similar to the self-withdrawal process, the proxy receives a code to share with the agent and collect the funds. To gain more insight into user and agent perspectives on mobile money processes in general, and when comparing our new protocols to the current ones, we set out to answer the following research questions. Number one, what are users' privacy perceptions and what factors influence their data sharing attitudes in the context of agent-facing mobile money transactions? Second, what security, privacy, and usability factors influence user and agent preferences and concerns for our alternative privacy-preserving protocols? And finally, what other design considerations arise with the use of privacy-preserving protocols? For this presentation, I'll be focusing on the first two research questions. To evaluate our new designs, we conducted in-person interviews with 32 mobile money users and 15 mobile money agents. We showed participants paper prototypes of our new protocols as shown in this image, and asked a series of questions about their privacy, security, and usability perceptions of them. User interviews followed a Wizard of Oz style method, where the interface is not actually functional, but is instead controlled by a person who shows static images of the interface based on the actions taken by the user. On the other hand, agent interviews involved process walkthroughs to show how our new protocols work without requiring them to interact with the interfaces. This was done to cut down on the interview length for agents, as it can be challenging to recruit them for longer studies. All interviews were conducted by the second author, our John Carrot Award-winning Collins Munyendo, who's in the audience somewhere with us, and were offered in both English and Kiswahili, depending on participant preferences. To enroll participants, we recruited from 5 different neighborhoods in Nairobi, Kenya, by posting flyers at agent locations and using snowball sampling to ask already enrolled participants to share the study with others who they might know that would be qualified. Now I'll discuss our findings about user privacy perceptions and data sharing attitudes. Overall, we found 4 main categories of data sharing risks that users were concerned about regarding mobile money transactions. This includes fraud or theft, unauthorized data use, physical harm, and economic judgments. Additionally, almost all users viewed agents as the main threat actor for these risks. One user shared an example of unauthorized use by recounting an incident they had personally experienced, saying, quote, "I came to learn that my ID number had registered another SIM card and I didn't know, as ID numbers are required in Kenya to register each SIM card." We also saw that users shared their information in mobile money transactions based on 4 factors. Number 1, the utility of sharing their data, their perceptions about data sensitivity or lack thereof, their trust in the involved parties, which was mostly the mobile money providers as opposed to agents, and obligatory compliance. Regarding trust in providers, one user shared that they felt comfortable with sharing their information because, quote, "They are the service providers offering the service. I trust them to keep my information secret," indicating a belief that the company was trustworthy and would not do anything harmful with their data. On the other hand, users felt pressured into sharing information if it was needed to access mobile money services. For example, this user shared that, quote, "There are details they might need, and even if they are personal, I am going to give them," indicating the trade-off between accessing a service and having to share one's personal information. Moving on to the privacy, security, and usability factors mentioned by participants. Generally, we found that both users and agents preferred our new processes, which replace ID authentication with biometric authentication, for the following reasons. It was noted by both agents and users that less personal information was shared with agents. Additionally, users felt that the code and biometrics, as mentioned earlier, offer better security. It also felt more convenient to authenticate without an ID. And finally, the formalization of the proxy process offers better protection and insurances of legitimate transactions for both users and agents. In terms of added privacy, one user expressed their preference for our protocols due to the minimization of unwanted contact from agents, which is a valid concern given that the current protocols expose a user's phone number. The user shared, quote, "There's also no way that the agent can use my details, unlike the existing one where they can get my phone number and start calling and harassing me." For the security improvements, one user felt that our new processes were more secure because, quote, "Someone will not be able to remove your money because they will not have your fingerprints," which is a benefit of biometric authentication replacing ID-based authentication, where IDs could easily be lost or stolen. Regarding the formalized proxy withdrawal processes, which allow users to send proxies without requiring them to share their phone, PIN, or ID, one user addressed how our protocols eliminate the excessive data sharing in the current workarounds, saying, quote, "I remain with my phone and my details, and he, the proxy, uses his phone and his details." Only a few users and agents shared concerns about the new protocols, including the potential for voice authentication being less private if one had to, quote, "shout in public," various accessibility concerns, and finally, the agent's lack of trust in users to self-authenticate. The accessibility concerns mentioned by our participants mostly revolved around potential cases where the biometric authentication might not work for certain users. For example, one agent gave the following scenario where specifically fingerprint-based authentication could fail. Quote, "Maybe the person is a construction worker and their fingerprints are not quite clear and it fails." Finally, a few agents were concerned about users trying to exploit our processes, especially because of the shift from agent-facilitated ID authentication to a self-authentication process using biometrics, with one agent saying, quote, "For my security purposes, how do you really trust the customer to do self-service?" However, it is important to note that most of these concerns are actually misconceptions about our new protocols, particularly regarding the implementation of biometric authentication. This indicates that further implementations of our protocols have to be more clear in explaining how biometric authentication actually works to both users and agents. Overall, we found that users preferred our privacy-preserving mobile money protocols to the existing ones, citing enhanced privacy, security, and usability, though some expressed concerns regarding the accessibility and security of self-authentication through biometrics. Based on our findings, we recommend that mobile money providers implement and pilot our protocols with their users. We also suggest that future work investigate fraud targeted at mobile money agents and conduct a large-scale quantitative study regarding the privacy violations experienced by mobile money users. Thank you all for your attention, and please feel free to scan the QR code to read our full paper.